Good morning. It's Thursday, June 2nd, 2022. My name is Terry Morgan. We are here to practice Wudang Qigong. I have a little bit of announcements. First, we have a change coming up the beginning of July. I've been teaching Xingyi on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm going to change that. We're finishing the Xingyi 12 Animals form the end of June, and beginning in July, I will be teaching Bagua, Bagua Jiang. The Qigong class, this one, and the advanced class tomorrow will remain the same for the foreseeable future. I will have some changes to the format, some changes in emphasis, certain things that we will start to pay a little bit more attention to, some things that I will reintroduce and then add a little bit more depth to as we review and repeat some of the things that I've been teaching for, give or take the last 2 years. Actually, it's closer to the last 20, but I've recorded for the last 2. Okay? So, with that in mind, let's get started. Now, still haven't, coffee is still on the top of my list there. One other thing, and I'm going to mention this just because I've been working on a sci-fi novel that includes martial arts. You bet it. Oh yes, it includes martial arts. Not overt, let's go flying through the air kind of stuff, but more real world kind of what do we have to do and what might we need to do. The same as what I teach in my classes. And I'm getting ready to go through one more time and look at some of the dialogue, look at some of the edits that I've decided I need to make. And as I'm doing that, there is there's a joyfulness about it for me. I really like doing that. I really like working on this story. And I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, that I get through this next round of edits and that something more is going to happen than me just standing here talking about it. Something more is definitely going to happen. What that is, I don't know yet. Seriously, I don't know. But something more is definitely going to happen. It's going to happen. Feet about, shoulder width apart. Let's do basic stretch this morning. Feet about, shoulder width apart. Wiggle the toes, wiggle the fingers. Stand straight. Pull up through the crown of the head. Drop the shoulders. Pull up through the spine. Pull in through the abs. Hands circle to the front. Back around both sides. Up along the center line. Stretch out. Bend the knees. Roll up through the back. Reach out. One more. All the way up. Elbows drop down. Wrists, fingertips, hands return to your sides. I got to say one more thing, just because this idea that I was mentioning, that I've got this thing that I've been working on and I'm going to do something with it, that thought, which I am going to work on it today, and I was working on it before class this morning. So there was part of the way that I'm presenting the story that I was struggling with a little bit, and there was this little nuance that I needed to pay attention to. I know what it is now. I know what it, and not only do I know what it is, I know how to get to it. That's even better. All right, so I'm absolutely joyful about this, because knowing what might need to change somewhere, and we use this in practice, knowing what might need to change somewhere and knowing how to change it are not the same thing. They're not. This doesn't feel quite right. I don't know what to do. Huh? Versus, this doesn't feel quite right and I need to adjust my balance here. Oh, that is part of what we want to get to. And as we move from more basic practice to more advanced practice, this is precisely the kind of thing that we want to be able to do. Understand what we're supposed to do, understand what we're doing, be able to look at it, which is really hard sometimes. It's really hard to stand. I got a mirror right there, right dead center. It's really hard sometimes to stand there and look in the mirror. It is. It is. Mirror won't lie to you. Mirror will tell you exactly what it sees. And it doesn't, it will tell you the truth. It will not lie. A mirror will not lie. Person might try to be kind, say, well, you know, that looks all right, or, you know, and it's okay, you can keep working on it, right? Be encouraging. The mirror's like, no, that's wrong. Fix it, right? That skill, be able to look in the mirror and correct what you need to correct, is not easy. It's not. The key right here, smile. That's key. Seriously. You think I'm trying? No, that's the key. If you are looking in the mirror, and as I just said, the mirror's gonna tell you, it's not gonna lie, it's not gonna sugarcoat nothing. If it's right, it's right, it's wrong, period. That's it. If you take that as, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna get it right. If that's, okay, I'm gonna try again. All right, I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna try again. Try again. Right? And then that's not gonna work either. Smile. Then try again. That relaxation, that openness, and the human quality that we have when we smile gives us the ability to relax instead of being tense, instead of being discouraged, instead of not being able to do, just, all right, that wasn't right, smile. Okay, well that feels better. That little adjustment you would be amazed at how many different areas of practice and, yeah, I'm going to say it, how many different areas of your life that one little tiny adjustment before you start anything, even if you don't feel it. I'm feeling it today. I'm feeling really good today. All right, but even if you don't feel it, smile. Do that first. Feet about shoulder width apart. Ladies, right hand on the outside. Gentlemen, the left hand on the outside. Breathe in. Breathe out. Bend the knees. Keep the back straight. Open the Ming Men. And breathe in. Breathe out. Ming Men, the center and the small of the back. Drop the hip. Keep the spine straight. Support from under the ribs. Ribs go all the way around. Excuse me. The ribs go all the way around to the back. It was a tongue twister there. And breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. 2 more. Breathe out. Smile. Keep the shoulders down. Even as you bring the arms up, make sure the shoulders stay down. Last time, hands separate. Press down on both sides, pull up through the crown of the head, raise the heels and lower. Breathe in. Pushing the mountain. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Push. Pull back the first finger just slightly as you push out. Open the elbow in the center of the palm. Breathe in. Breathe out. As you pull in, focus on the middle finger, the heart channel. Pull in and press down. Return to the lower dantian. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Keep the hips open. Drop the tailbone. Open the space in the hip. Space between the leg and the hip. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. 2 more. And 1 more time. Breathe out. Push and breathe in. Hands down on both sides. Pull up through the crown of the head. Raise the heels and lower. Stay there. Breathe in. Breathe out. I'm going to talk about this idea behind the hip, what I was talking about, for just a second, because we want to use this especially in the next 2 sets. All right, and I'm going to get a little closer here. This is my hip. Imagine. This is my hip. Okay. My leg fits up in here. Like, here's a hip. This is my leg. There's space here. This can turn. And notice in the back, there's nothing here. Right? This can turn, right? Back over. There's nothing here. All right. This is my hip. All right. There's my hip up here. There's nothing here. This is my leg. Leg fits up in there. There's a nice coverage of the hip and the leg bone that fits up right up in here. Here's my hip. If you take your own hand, find the top of your hip bone, reach around to the back, and roughly, the width of your hand here, where can I put my hand? You can see it. Width of your hand, about like this. This is the base of your hip, back here. Below that is squishy. It's open. We want that to be open. Okay? So as I'm here, let me do this. Right? Bend the knees. Right here, this hand. Drop the hip. Notice what happened to my hand. Now this area right here, the Ming Men, that small of the back, where a lot of times we have, if we're going to have back trouble, that's where we're going to have it. All right? As we practice, we want to open that so that the spine naturally straightens. It's not forced. It just happens as a result of dropping the hip. Here. Let me turn this way. Right here. Tailbone drops straight down. It's straight. It's not, you're not trying to tuck it. You're not trying to move it. It's straight down. And what that looks like may be different for different people. When I was heavier, I've lost some weight. All right. When I was heavier, it looked different because I had more back here. I didn't have a bustle, but I did have much more padding than I do right now. All right. That difference does not affect how it feels inside. Okay? If you're standing in front of me, I can see it. I can see what you're doing that is throwing that alignment off or is creating good alignment. Right? I can look at it, I can tell you. How do you see it? How do you tell? First, the easy way, put your hand right here. Bend your knees and drop your hip. If you feel it open, you got it. You're good. If you don't, and that was okay. That was okay. The idea behind, right, that as you open, you develop the skill to move that energy from the lower Tantian around, up the back, and down the front. If the Ming Men is not open, right? If I'm leaning back here, this can't be open. It's closed. They can't, nothing going to go through. Right? Pay attention to the hip. Pay attention to dropping through the leg so that the hip drops, the leg opens. All of this through here, open. You'll feel it. Drop, you'll feel it. While we're flying. Feet about shoulder width apart. Pay attention to the hip. Breathe in. Breathe out. Hands up along both sides. And sink. Open the hip. Drop the tailbone and up and down. Breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Open the back. Drop the hip. Pull up from underneath the ribs as you rise. Breathe in. Open the back, open the lungs. Keep the back open. Breathe in. 2 more. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Last time, breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Hands down along both sides. Pull up through the crown of the head. Raise the heels and lower. Stay there. Breathe in. Breathe out. As we go up and down, and I'm going to turn this way for just a second so you can see what I'm talking about. Right here. Keep the back open. Open the hip. Pull through the hip and the ribs. Let the leg bend through the hip. Okay? Here. Not here. Down here. Okay? Don't try and go too low. Pay attention today. We want to pay attention to the hip, opening the hip, and we want to pay attention to opening the Ming Men back here. Right? So, let the leg drop. So you've got flexibility in the hip. As you sink, drop the tailbone and allow, don't force it, and allow this area in the lower back to open. Feet are shoulder width apart. Diagonal flying. Breathe in. Breathe out. Pull up through the crown of the head, open the back, and up and down. Keep the hip open. Use the leg, pull up from underneath. Open the back and sink. Center. Open. And settle. Close. Breathe in. Breathe out. The more you keep the weight over, supported through the torso, the easier it is to bend the leg. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Open the back, pull up from underneath. Even as you settle down, pull up. 2 more. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. Last time, breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hands down along both sides. Pull up through the crown of the head. Raise the heels and lower. Stay there. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more time. Breathe in. Breathe out. Okay. I'm going to emphasize a little bit more this idea that, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit. Then we're going to do, excuse me, then we're going to do Wild Goose flying again. The straight one, not the diagonal one. Okay? This idea that this is the base of my torso. Okay. Groin area. Right? Right here. Now hui in, pull up. Okay. So this is, yeah, it's going to be a couple of minutes, but I really could use a restroom sometime soon. Pull up. That's the feeling. Alright, pull that up. As you sink, okay, so this is the torso, right? Everything here, this is my hip, this is my leg down here. Hip's up here, okay? My leg does not start down here. This is where my hip is. This is the top of my hip. This is the base of my hip. This is where my leg is. My leg starts up here. My leg doesn't start down here. We use the whole leg, okay? So this opening through the hip. As we pay attention to that opening through the hip, the same opening through the back. This tailbone drops down. Pull up from underneath. That pull up here through the abs. And that, oh, well, I'm going to have to wait a few minutes. Exactly that. Pull that up. At the same time as you sink, right? That gives you control of the torso, so that all your legs have to do is support a little bit of the weight, not all of it. It also gives you flexibility through the hip to be able to just bend the knee and let everything else go with, right? If my hip is open and I bend my knee, my body's just going to go with. And it doesn't take near as much effort if I'm using the supports that I have through my torso. So, pulling up through the spine, this muscle group that crosses here and here, as well as this one. This pulls in, these pull up. There's an insertion here at the top of the hip that crosses to the other side. Each one pulls up and in. Large muscle through the front pulls in. All of the muscles through the spine, all of the tendons and ligaments through the spine pull in and support the spine. They wrap. You think about it as a DNA wrap. This side and the other side. Clockwise and counterclockwise. That support gives you the ability to extend the spine. It's not that I just got taller, it's I just stretched a little bit. Alright? We want that ability, we want that openness, especially in Qigong. Wild Goose flying, pay attention to supporting through the upper body. The upper body supports itself, right? Hips, pull up here, pull up through the spine, open the hip, and extend Lao Gong connection through the Yongchuan in the ball of the foot as we open. Breathe in, breathe out. Open the back, and breathe in, breathe out. Connect the Yongchuan in the base of the foot with the Lao Gong as you extend and sink. Breathe in, open the back, pull up through the front, pull up, open the back, breathe, and sink. Open the back, sink, open the hips, relax, up, and down. Relax through the hip, pull up through the torso, smile. Two more. Breathe in, breathe out. Open the back as you sink, and last time. Open the hip, keep the back up, sink, and come on up. Press down along both sides, pull up through the crown of the head, raise the heels and lower. Stay there, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. All right, I'm going to mention something and then we're going to stop for today and I'll be back tomorrow. The last set that we did, and I'll show you this. As we are coming up here, right? Right here. A little bit of a turn. It's not, shouldn't be there, not so much. It's not an intentional turn, it's me turning the dantian, and as I turn that, other things moved. So my circle was a little bigger than I might should have intended. I do that. It's something that I had learned from my teacher, Liu Zhang, and that development of the energy in the lower dantian, along with the two swimming fish, yin fish and yang fish. So the yin-yang symbol, we think of that in 3 dimensions as a lower dantian. Those fish swim, they move, and they move independently, but they're always together. Let me say that again. They move independently, but they're always together. That idea is what you saw me do. Okay? And I do expect to teach a little bit more of that. Not so much today, but I'll think about a little bit more of that tomorrow. And as we move forward, as I was talking about, where we're going to continue Qigong class Thursday and Friday. Some of these concepts are things that I have introduced. I've covered, oh yeah, maybe sometime. It needs to be covered again. There needs to be a repeated, I'm going to say revisiting of certain concepts, each time we go back and talk about, well, I'm going to talk about this today, and in 3 weeks from now I'm going to talk about the same thing, and a month from now I'm going to talk about the same thing. As I go through that, as I do that, part of what happens is I add a little bit more depth to what I'm saying, to what I'm recording, which is a good thing. That's a natural progression for classwork. If you start in year 1, you kind of expect to progress and get a little bit more information about what you're doing in year 2, right? It's also something that is part of what needs to be paid attention to as we move through the stages of learning. I've talked about a situation where I had a student, and he'd come to class, he practiced really well, and he kept trying, there's a couple things he just didn't get, and then one day he showed up and he was practicing, and I said the same thing I've been saying, that something, I think it was his foot and his back alignment, I'm not sure, was interfering with what he was trying to do. And he just, it wasn't there for him. I kept saying the same thing. Pay attention to your foot and your back, extend the energy from the lower dantian, connect the foot to the ground, sink your heel, and then push. That day he got it. Like, yeah! Alright? It wasn't that I changed anything, it was I kept repeating the same thing, and it was that he was now ready. He was now ready to hear what I was saying and to be able to apply it. Hearing it, he'd been listening, he was a good guy, he was a good student. He was trying. It just wasn't there. And then that day, everything came together. That same idea is how I teach. So that's how I teach. So as I'm adding, as I'm looking at what kinds of things, right? What other kinds of things might we be doing in this class? This is going to be one of them. I hope you enjoyed the lesson today. I'll be a little less talky through some of the classes. Other classes, the only way you're going to understand what I'm doing and what you could be doing and what you need to pay attention to is if I tell you. What'd she do? What's that? What? How'd she do that? Right? Well, I had a turn here and a turn here, and it's connected through here and this turn. Right? Those connections, part of what we're working on. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate it.